Ann Coulter went on Jeanine Pirro's show. We refer to her as Scared Ann, Snowflake Ann, Elitist Ann. I'm just going to keep throwing certain descriptors out there with Ann because, as we all know, she backed out of a debate with me and then she went on Good Morning LA and pretended like no lefty would debate her. Utter nonsense. The reality is she's a smug elitist prick and she thought, oh, is he big on the internet? He doesn't count. I need somebody who writes books. By the way, the idea that, like, almost anybody who writes books is bigger than this show is beyond comical. I mean, maybe there's like a tiny 2%, 3% of authors who are bigger than this show, maybe, but I'm bigger than 95% of people who write books. But that's how ancient she is. Hashtag ancient Anne. It's like, oh, how many bestsellers does he have? How many bestsellers did Anna Kasparian of the Young Turks have? So that's her thing, is being a complete and utter douchebag who's out of touch. But I digress. She went on Jeanine Pirro's show, and she made some comments that were so extreme, so far right, so barbaric, and so authoritarian that she even managed to shock the judge, who was one of the most extreme hosts on Fox News. Jeanine Pirro is definitely to the right of Sean Hannity. And Ann Coulter said something so extreme that it made Jeanine go, whoa, you're kidding, right? So take a look, and then we'll talk about it.
All right, so talk to me about what is going on at the border. And now the president seems to suggest, aside from whether or not there's a deal with Mexico, he's saying they ain't coming in. There's no catch and release. It's catch and detain when we get them. Is that really going to happen, Em?
I don't know. He says a lot of great things, and he better start following through because, one of the things you were saying about Hillary, and I think all of us have been sort of sitting back hoping she would run again. But, consider that in Texas alone, look at how close those last two elections were in Florida and Texas. If either of those ever flip, no Republican ever gets elected president again. 3 out of 4 Hispanics in Texas are under the age of 18. So each day Trump doesn't fulfill his immigration promises, his voters are dying off, and Democratic voters, Hillary's voters, are registering to vote. So I hope he keeps this promise. This is why we wanted a wall, so that we wouldn't have to ask the country on the other side of the wall.
You know, what he got in the last omnibus bill was $1.6 billion, and in the fine print, Paul Ryan, thank goodness he's leaving, and Mitch McConnell, say he can only use $1.6 billion for the actual wall itself. It's all this other nonsense with the fencing that they climb over all the time. So Donald Trump has done everything he can to do the wall. He can't build it himself.
I think he can, and I think the most important point is, he can use the funding from Department of Homeland Security and Department of Defense. He's commander-in-chief. And by the way, just separate point, but what happened to ending the war in Afghanistan? We have troops protecting borders all over the world, not our own border. But the most important point is...
But he's moving the military to the border. He can't do anything else. He has indicated he's going to close the whole southern border. No president. They've sent the military to the border. Bush did and Obama did. But I've never seen anything as focused as we are right now. Who do you think's sending these people?
Well, his rhetoric is great. There are troops, I think 5,000 on the border, but if you are an aficionado of the Andy Griffith show, Barney Fife could have a gun but only one bullet, and that bullet he had to keep in his pocket because he wasn't a very good shot. That's more bullets than our troops on the border have.
Well, they're not allowed to use it because
Trump is...
You know what the legal requirement is, posse comitatus. He is doing everything he can to have them back it up. What?
Number one, you can't shoot Americans. You can shoot invaders. Number two, even if that were true, okay, go 1 yard into Mexico. What's happening on our border is certainly a bigger crisis for Americans than Grenada was.
We can't invade Mexico to stop them from coming in here. We're doing the same thing unless Mexico gives us that authority. If you recall, even in Benghazi, they said, well, we didn't get permission from Libya to go in and protect our men. We certainly can't cross the border to shoot them up over there. If that's what you're talking about, to send the military there.
Reagan invaded Grenada, and Grenada was far less of a threat to Americans.
I love how she's using gratuitous invasions to make her point. Like, well, remember when that time we gratuitously invaded Grenada? We should do that to Mexico also. She said we should murder people at the border. What? Murder people? And she's on Fox News. She's allowed on major mainstream media networks to say stuff like this casually. Like, they just let her on. Go ahead. Advocate for massacring people searching for a better life. Let me ask you a question. Seriously, even people who consider themselves conservative on the issue of immigration, what percentage of the people that are trying to get into the country are nefarious and are trying to get in specifically to raise havoc, to be criminals, to join MS-13 or whatever? What percentage of the people coming in are bad people who are not looking to create a better life and maybe have an opportunity for their children, and people who are not escaping extreme poverty and violence brought about by the drug war? What percentage of those people are bad people? It's not 100% of people who are bad people trying to come into this country. I'd say it's not even 50%. It's not even like half of the people coming in here generally mean well, and the other half of the people are criminals trying to join MS-13. I would argue the ratio is probably much closer to 90-10. 90% people just trying to live and not die because of extreme poverty and violence. And listen, in that scenario, should you have a process to determine who can be here and who can't be here and who's granted asylum and who's not granted asylum? Absolutely, we need to have a process. Absolutely. And you do have to do background checks and ascertain what's going on in each individual case. All that's true. But she's saying just shoot them. Just shoot them. And that would be vicious enough if all of them meant harm, because you're gunning down people who don't have weapons, who can't defend themselves, who are committing what is effectively a low-level crime. Okay? It'd be bad enough if they were all bad, but they're not all bad. Most of them are good people, and you just want to gun them down for crossing a border. But that's against the law. A lot of things are against the law. Jaywalking is against the law. Should people be gunned down for doing that? Let's go with the people on Wall Street who committed horrendous crimes and crashed the economy and took bailout money and then paid bonuses to the people who made these terrible decisions, the people at Goldman Sachs who did fraud as a business model and they knew they were doing it. Should we just go in there and gun them all down? Don't answer that question, some of you. Some people in the audience are going to be like, yeah, I'm down with that one. No. You can't do that. Civilized people and enlightened people don't do that. You always have due process set up. And to somebody like Ann Coulter, she is the definition of an authoritarian. I don't care about due process. I don't care about the Constitution. I don't care about law and order. I care about authoritarianism and defining up front who the good guys are and the bad guys are. The good guys are the ones in uniform. The bad guys are those brown people, evil brown people trying to come in. And therefore, anything is justified to meet those ends. If you got to murder people in cold blood, murder them in cold blood. And then I'll have the nerve to turn around and say, I'm the law and order person representing the law and order party, and I can never be the criminal. No, you are. That is literally, you're advocating for crimes. That is a violation of human rights, a violation of international law. That's literally murder. You're advocating for murder. You're also advocating for an illegal invasion of Mexico. So the fact that she could just casually float that, I mean, you saw even Jeanine Pirro was like, whoa, what? Start gunning people down, massacring people? I mean, could you imagine for a split second? Now, we turned away a lot of people when they were trying to escape Nazi Germany. We did, and it's a stain on our record. A lot of people were trying to get in the country, we turned them away. Could you imagine if people coming here from Nazi Germany, escaping Nazi Germany, Jews escaping persecution, and on their way off the boat, we had U.S. military members kill them, gun them down, how would that look internationally? Forget about how that would look. What would that mean about us? And then also, again, to come back to today's case, listen, the reality is a lot of the problems here are brought about by us, our drug war, so the ultra-powerful drug gangs. And then when people want to find a better life and they try to escape to us, we go, oh, I can't believe that people are trying to come in this country. It's unbelievable. Shoot him in the face. Listen, there are some people who barely mask their gross beliefs. And Coulter is one of those people. So, now they get all offended and shit. If you dare to call somebody on the far right a bigot or a racist or a fascist, they get all offended. But, what the fuck do you want people to call you when you advocate for shit like this? What do you want them to call you? It's hard to escape these conclusions because they're right in front of our fucking face. So, forgive us for being outraged that you're pro-murder, but if there was ever a time to express outrage, I think we found it.